Are you ready for another meditation challenge?
Welcome back, my friends. We're on day 19, and today I'd like to go over a few things before we get started with the meditation. Thank you all for joining me. So far, we've been gradually starting to feel that heart chakra open. Today, I want to go over two principles, which I feel are very important to the success of your meditation, especially a meditation like this. And the first principle I want to go over is speed. Speed and how it relates to frequency and how it relates to perception and how it relates to what we see. You see, what's going on here is that for most people, our head has been chopped off. Now, what do I mean by that? I don't see any guillotines around here. This is not medieval times. My head is still here. I feel it on my body. Yes, but when I refer to the fact that our head has been chopped off, what I'm referring to is this. This is a pyramid. We're all familiar with the shape. And how does this relate to speed and frequency? Well, I don't know if you guys noticed, but over in Egypt, the capstone is chopped off. It's been removed for some reason. Some say it was made of gold. Some say all this different folklore and history to why it's not there. But it's a flat top. And so the point, the very top of the pyramid has been removed. And very similarly, the very top of our pyramid has been chopped off, removed. The very top of the pyramid of our being has been long lost for most people. And how does this affect us? And what am I really referring to? Well, what this shape refers to is a multi-dimensional frequency. Now, follow me for just a moment. What I mean here is that you have the bottom line is a certain length of distance from here to here. As we move up the pyramid, that line becomes a shorter distance all the way up to the top, in which it becomes a point, which would be no distance between lines. There's no more line, it's just a point. So the point here is that for most people, we've lost access to that higher range, that higher frequency of our multi-dimensional selves. And so with this meditation, we seek to regain that ability, and it all comes down to speed. And speed equals frequency. So what do I mean? Let's say we're focusing on our heart chakra, right? Which we're about to do momentarily. When we brought our attention to the center of our chest, what we have here, okay, come on board. And just mute your mic whenever you come on in. Okay, there you go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So what we have here is the top range of our perceptual frequency has been flattened. It's been lost in time because we only focus on the body. We only focus on the senses for the most part. So let's look at this darker bottom part. This essentially would represent our bodies. Above here would represent our emotions, our mind, and then up to the very top, this is really our attention. This is our focal point. When we can bring our attention to a single point and hold it there, what we're utilizing is our ability to focus. Now, I've heard many of you say that it's very difficult to focus, and this is why we've become too slow, which means our frequency has dropped. Our awareness, our attention has become trapped in our bodies, and this is what we suffer. This is why we all feel attached to our bodies, and what happens to our bodies is a very important factor for us. Whether our body feels good, we feel good. If our body feels bad, we feel bad, et cetera, et cetera. You follow what I'm saying? So how do you rise above? How do you get to the higher range of frequency? How do you regain the top of the pyramid? And it's through this meditation practice. And it all comes down to speed, because most of us, when we close our eyes and we begin to focus on a heart chakra, when we begin to meditate, what happens is that we are basically the same. We're taking the same approach to meditation that we take in our physical lives. Our physical lives, it takes time to move from here to here. It takes time for me to get up and walk out the door, or et cetera, et cetera. You follow what I'm saying? Each dimension has a time. It has a timing. Each dimension has a frequency. And what we're aiming to do is put that capstone back on the pyramid with a very sharp, fine point. And how do we do that? We do that by realizing that our awareness, our attention, is non-physical. So it does not apply to the same rules as the physical plane. So with this knowledge, we can then realize that we can hold our attention at a fine point, that it doesn't have to be moving. What we'll notice initially is that our attention being caught up in our minds, caught up in our thoughts, caught up in our mental tendencies, it's moving at a certain rate. It's moving at a certain frequency. And this frequency is very similar to the frequency in which we perceive the world, in which we perceive the world through our senses. We're sort of used to a certain tempo, if that makes any sense. So what we seek to do in meditation, and through twofold process, concentration on one point. Now with the concentration on one point, if you can hold your attention very, very still, essentially what you're doing is you're holding at the point. Now I know this may seem difficult to understand at first, but I'm doing my best to convey this information because it's very difficult to describe it and talk about it in words and in mental concepts that we can understand. Because when we communicate through a language, we're limited by symbols and ways to describe certain things, which are very difficult to describe. So try to follow me with your intuition and your psychic ability here. When we're using single pointed mind, essentially what we're doing is we're using the point. Imagine this point is right here at the center of my chest, and I'm holding right at that point. The tendency for the mind to then slow down and go back to its habitual routine cycle or frequency, we have to pull it back to the point and hold it there with extreme willpower at first. This is what intense concentration ability is all about. Intensity in that it's a commitment to holding it at the point. When we can hold it at the point, what happens is our frequency will begin to shorten. And instead of a long journey back to remembering where we're focusing, it's a very quick journey, and it's a very quick journey, and it's a very quicker journey, until all of a sudden we're there. And then we no longer diverge into a lower frequency cycle. Now, hopefully that makes sense. You could use a cone as a similar example, but I just happen to have this pyramid right here. So what this means is that when we speed up our frequency, what we're doing is we are increasing our frame rate to the point where when we can be at the point of the pyramid within our own frequency spectrum, we will then begin to see things on a higher frequency spectrum. This is how we are able to see higher dimensions. This is how we're able to feel higher dimensions. So the more fine, the more refined, the more pointed you can make your attention, the higher will become your frequency. Now, this is also coupled with the fact that the energy will begin to increase. The Kundalini energy will rise up to the point where you're focused on. And this will also increase your frequency, because energy is also bound by the cycles of geometry. And energy is also, it's like energy is the essence, and the frequency is the speed at which that energy moves. So if we can go to the highest heights, the top of the mountain, then we can see the farthest, and we can see everything below us. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, here we go today with the meditation. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to bring out my insight timer. Now, if you're not familiar with insight timer, I use this to time the meditations to ensure that we're sticking to at least a 20, 25 minute, 30-minute meditation, wherever we're happen to be doing. Today we're doing 25 minutes. And the way that I've got the meditation timed is I'm going to create another interval bell at the 5-minute mark. What's cool about insight timer is that you can create these little bells, and I'm going to use the Zen wood block because I like that sound, at 5 minutes. So what this is doing is it gives me a little indicator. I don't know if you can see it, it might be backwards. It gives me a little indicator at 5 minutes when to move on to the next step in meditation. So for the first 5 minutes of the meditation, we're going to be focusing on the breathing. And then for the next 10-minute portion, we're going to be focusing on the heart chakra. And for the last 10-minute portion, we're going to be completely letting go of all control. We're going to be completely letting go of all focus and complete surrender. Surrendering to the stillness, surrendering to being instead of doing. In the beginning, we're doing, and then we transition into being. And during the being portion of the meditation, this is when you'll really discover all the tendencies that we have. Because when we're struggling to hold our mind here in the beginning, yes, you'll be fighting the tendencies of mind to go back to the old lower frequency habits. But once we've sped up our frequency through the concentration process, it's almost as if we are a rocket ship. And in the beginning, we're using a lot of energy and a lot of fuel to take off into the atmosphere. And once we reach the atmosphere, then we can shut off the engines and just allow the momentum to bring us around in orbit. So this analogy is very similar to what we'll be doing in the meditation. You'll be concentrating very hard on that heart chakra, opening up the heart, feeling, that energy will emanate and fill up your aura with this higher frequency energy of love, of joy, of happiness, of bliss. And then we let all that go and allow our good efforts at the beginning to take us to that next level. By completely letting go, what we're allowing ourselves to do is become anew. And by becoming anew, only then can we get beyond our known habitual ritual of patterning, because you're all just patterns. You're a pattern of thoughts, you're a pattern of tendencies, a pattern of habits, and all of these patterns formulate who we are, what we think we are. So the idea is to go beyond thought, beyond thinking, and just do it. Okay, so here we go, my friends. I'll walk you through it. So I've got my insight timer ready to rock. Boom. And the bell has rung. So let's begin by taking a few deep breaths to begin with. We're going to do the wave breathing. We're going to breathe into the belly, chest, and then the head. Stretching out those lungs. This gets the energy flowing. Now we're transitioning to the meditative breath in and out of the nose. You can put your hand on your belly. And just focus on the present moment and the breathing process. Forget about everything. Being in the present moment is being a good listener, being a good observer. With each breath, relax any tension you may feel in your eyes, in your forehead, in your jaw, in your shoulders. Become more and more still, more and more settled. Letting go of that hold we have on the body, becoming lighter and lighter. Breathing more and more calmly, more and more slowly. Now place the fingertips at the center of the chest. Thus giving your attention a target, a place to go. Let go of any focus on the breath and focus your complete attention to the exclusion of all else on the center of the chest, feeling the spot that you're touching. Feel free to hold your hand there as long as needed. But when you're ready, relax the hand and keep your attention nice and still on feeling the center of the chest, feeling the heart chakra area. Whenever the attention wanders, just bring it back, speeding up the frequency, holding your attention perfectly still. Now let go of all focus. Let go of all attachments. Let go of all doing and just be. Be as still as you can be while simultaneously letting go of all tension. Just release. Coming back to the body. My, that was a loud gong. Gotta love that insight timer though, right? All right, very good job, my friends. So now's a good opportunity to talk about our meditation. After you meditate, when we're fresh, when we've just gone through the experience, you can talk about meditation all you want, but unless you're actually meditating and diving in to the water, you'll never learn to swim just by talking about it. So this is why I come on here every day. We've got swimming lessons and swimming exercises that we do in the pool of awareness. There's a constant surrendering at the end, constant letting go. What happens is we find ourselves repeating the same old patterns. But if we continue to just release those patterns, those blocks as they come up, the more and more we can surrender, the more and more still we become, the more we rest as awareness. And our form expands. We break out of the mold of our limited forms. We break out of the mold of our limited thoughts and limited tendencies. And this is what we carry over to our day-to-day activities and lives. And the process just keeps going on, going on, going on. It takes time. It takes time to melt away these blocks. With time and practice, you can get it. You will get it. And I want to help you get it. And so this is why I'm coming on here every day, to kind of give you a taste of what it's like to try these meditation techniques with me. And the way that I can really help you is by conversing with you here on Zoom. So we'll be coming on Zoom here every day. And then afterward, we can have a discussion about the meditation. This is similar to how I do my group coaching program on Zoom. We'll do a meditation and then we talk about it. We talk about your experiences, and I can give you the insight and the guidance to break through those plateaus, to break through those blocks that we all encounter and we all experience. So, very good job today, my friends. And again, if you have any questions, you can drop them below in the comments on Facebook. And we'll see you again tomorrow on the Zoom call, where I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thank you very much for joining me. Have a great day. Take care.